30 seconds and counting.
Aye.
Astronauts reported.
We have a new moon in the sign of Leo, July 24th, 2025. And this new moon is at 2 degrees of Leo. And while this new moon is a very potent, energetic, fiery new beginning in the Leo part of your chart, it is also being opposed by Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, also at 2 degrees. So exact. And so this is basically a tug of war between you shining your light bright and other people having a problem with that, essentially. Also, in the backdrop of this new moon, Venus in the sign of Gemini is also squaring off with Mars in the sign of Virgo. And Virgo is also on the south node. So while Mars in the sign of Virgo is not the most powerful placement, it is still a very potent one in terms of being able to sever with precision, plan out an action, of course, and see it through to the end. And so that planning, that severing, that initiation of action towards an end is carefully thought out at the time of this new moon. However, it's also supporting an ending in the Virgo part of your chart. And so with this new moon also, in front of Virgo, as Leo is a sign one before Virgo, we're seeing this opposition with Pluto really shake things up in terms of asking us to persevere in terms of being our light, being unapologetic about our light while in the company of shade, quite literally. As well, Mercury will be in the sign of Leo as well, going retrograde. This means that at the time of this new moon, we're already thinking, revisiting, reassessing, replanning, and having things from the past come back to us for this work that very much exist along the themes of Leo. And so wherever you have Leo in your chart, it's going to be a time where you're looking to set down roots that are asking you to really assess what it is that allows you to feel authentically yourself, shine your light, and also have the confidence to do so, especially when experiencing resistance from multiple different areas. Okay, so let's talk about how this may play out for your unique sign. Aries, you're experiencing this new moon in your 5th house of your creativity. This is the area that corresponds to your children, your creative projects, also to your expression authentically of yourself, whether that's in speculations, gambling, or anything that just really allows you to have fun and do so authentically. And so you're having a new beginning in this area of life. You'll also have Mercury going retrograde. So really kind of going over the projects you've committed to and also projects perhaps from the past have come back for you to really assess whether there are things that perhaps you threw out too soon and also need more of your attention, and whether they truly align with your sense of joy. And of course, there's going to be some opposition from this new moon, from friends, your groups and professional networks. This can also look like longer term hopes and dreams that may no longer correspond with this new expression that's taking place right now in that 5th house space, and that you're really going over to assess whether it's aligned and or not. And again, the way in which you're having to do that while experiencing opposition from others. As well, Venus in your 3rd house of your siblings, younger ones, also neighbors, cousins, maybe even with your transportation, there's been some pleasantness with day-to-day life and just getting around your neighborhood that is also having some tensions come up for you in that 6th house space where Mars is currently transiting in the sign of Virgo, where you're being really precise about just cutting out things that don't support you day to day, don't support your health, don't support your well-being, don't support you in getting shit done. And so you're having some odds in terms of perhaps your commitments in that the 3rd house space, and or with women who may be thinking that you need to show up in a certain way because you are Mars ruled. And so it's really having you contemplate how do you address this tension while also staying true to cutting out things that just no longer serve you, and really having a new start at this new moon that also corresponds to, again, those tensions where you're having to tread lightly, even though treading lightly is not your style. That's what I have for you, Aries. Sending you much love. Good luck. Taurus, you're having this new moon happen in your 4th house of home, family, just where you live. And so there's some intense tension from career. So there's a lot of transformation, a lot happening in that 10th house space. that is opposing you, just really wanting to nest, and also revisiting and reassessing, how to make your home more comfortable, how to address situations with your family and or for your parents to support them and being more comfortable, particularly your mother, as well as maybe renovations that you're looking to start and the timeline and assessing that and thinking whether it's possible or not, and really wanting to do so in a way that supports, living comfortably and nesting as you're taking this new path in terms of your home and or even moving home. And so career is saying, no, 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 we need XYZ from you. And it's just not jiving with this new beginning and where your focus really is. And of course, your chart ruler Venus is in your second house of your resources, your finances, how you earn income, what you put in your mouth, just also how you value yourself. And valuing yourself is really connected to your ideas, your ideation process, your thoughts, and also maybe connected to like siblings and your connection with extended family. And so you are having a lot of sweetness here, and also Uranus is here shaking things up. So perhaps you're also thinking differently about your finances. Perhaps you're even considering new ways of earning income that may also linger or bridge on the themes of tech, think cryptocurrencies as well. What's happening in that second house space, the changes, the sweetness, the harmonization that you're experiencing right now is at odds with Mars in the sign of Virgo that is currently in your fifth house space. So issues with your children, also with your creative projects, also need to cut things out in that fifth house space. What is no longer serving you? Perhaps taking a more firm approach with your kids is necessary, but it's also at odds with you just wanting to like enjoy yourself and just like align with going out, indulging in some nice food and unpleasant conversations. But what's coming up in that fifth house space is not making that as easy as you'd like. And so this new moon is about, putting seeds for a more harmonization in your home space with your family while mitigating these tensions. And so what's starting at the new moon may not look the same as you're starting it in 6 months from now, because 6 months from now, it's when you're going to see the culmination of what is planted this new moon. But of course, you're still reassessing, you're still reevaluating what has taken place, and perhaps more information about your ancestries coming to your awareness that may help you make a decision that also starts at this new moon. So I have you, Taurus, sending you much love and good luck. Gemini, you are having a new beginning in your third house of your siblings, your cousins, your aunts and uncles, your local neighborhood, maybe even like getting, things started for acquiring a new car. And so you are sowing seeds here. And while you're doing this, there is some back and forth around what's working, what's not working as it relates to your relationships with the people I mentioned. Also, perhaps with your car or your vehicle and needing to figure out whether you're able to maintain it. However, it's not advised that you do repairs during the Mercury retrograde, as what you do may have to be redone once Mercury goes direct. And of course, Mercury is your chart ruler, so you're more sensitive to what Mercury is doing. And so right now you're being called to chill and assess. And Venus also in your sign is making you look that much more attractive right now to other people. People are more likely to respond favorably to you. And so that's working in your interest. And so communication, particularly communication that eases and soothes, is your kryptonite right now. And it's, however, at odds with Mars at this new moon in particular, that is in your fourth house space. And so family can feel like kind of crazy. Home might feel crazy. There's a lot of things that have to get done. Maybe you're having renovations and home is just a construction zone, or maybe there's a lot of quarrels at home right now because, ideas are not landing in practical ways, and or you're severing out things or you're cutting out things that just don't align with keeping home organized, tidy, and again, just a space that feels like clean and neat and aligned with what you need to have just a sense of peace and zen. And so what's ending in your home is also ending for good as the South Node is in your house. So you're feeling this diminishment of the home space. So maybe like family also is shifting and reorganizing. And so the new beginning in this third house space is very much in conversation with what's happening in terms of your identity, how you know yourself, how you're stepping into the world, and how that might be also shifting as it relates to your connection with your neighbors, your siblings, your transportation, again, because of these shifts and these changes, particularly this lessening or dissolving of aspects related to home, family, also ancestral karma, that supporting you at this new moon to make a decision that's going to have an outcome that's going to not only culminate in 6 months from now, but it's going to have one that's going to be lasting, particularly with Mercury helping you to refine it, your chart ruler, as we move through the new moon and beyond. That's what I have for you, Gemini, sending you much love and good luck. Cancer. So you're having this new moon start in your second house of your resources, your finances, how you earn income, your diet. This is also the way that you magnetize by being playful, being creative, just being your bubbly self to magnetize resources to you for your survival. And so you're having a new beginning in that second house space that very much is at odds with the resources that you receive from others that you don't have to necessarily work for or earn, but just because you are. And so this can look like perhaps your investment stocks may be like volatile right now, even though that would be really weird that it's just for you, unless of course your investments right now are very like vicarious or precarious, excuse me. And so that eighth house space has tension. There's people perhaps leveraging the money that they give to you just because they're connected to you and deeply merged to perhaps stall you or stop you from, really sowing the seeds to create greater independence and greater abundance for yourself. That's just all yours without having to like check in with others. And so that's going to be something that you really have to keep in mind at this new moon. Guard your light well by shining it despite what others do and say. And this also shows that with Mercury also retrograding your second house, you're thinking more about your values and how you value yourself in relationships and how perhaps you have not, and the way in which perhaps you dimmed your light for others that has not served you in terms of your energetics, plus your ability to, again, align with the resources that are yours by right, right? And so Venus is also moving through your 12th house of where you go to be alone. So you might be able to feel more aligned and just more in touch with, spirit and beyond the veil during this time as Venus moves through Gemini in that 12th house space. However, there is some challenges with your third house of like siblings, of your neighbors, of just moving around day to day and sending communication and text messages and emails that is grating on your nerves, perhaps like giving you tension in your jaws, and you're like having to support yourself to get to that place of peace and calm and wanting to take more space away, despite the fact that there's so much coming up in day-to-day life that just is asking for your attention, asking you to like serve and like pillage for others in ways that like just feel downright like servitude, slavery, drudgery, and you don't want to do that right now. In fact, you're cutting out a lot of the obligations that you set yourself up for simply because you wanted to serve, and a lot of your relationship to service has been for others, perhaps at the expense of yourself. And so that's supporting you in terms of reassessing your idea of your self-worth, and then also the resources that are yours, and perhaps what you don't need to share because they're yours, and also whether you're being, compensated fairly for all that you're giving. And so that's really supporting you at this new moon to have a reassessment for this new beginning that will very much bring forth greater resources, greater wealth for you, and also greater self-esteem with it. So to have you, Cancer, sending you much love and good luck. Leo, so you're having this new moon in your first house of self-identity, basically how you take up space, how you show up in a room. Okay. And so you're assessing who you are. Perhaps you're feeling more like yourself again, maybe a part of you that you forgot about. Maybe, some soul work has been done and you're aligning back with a part of you that was, gone for so long because of a trauma. And so now you're just feeling more in your wholeness, you're feeling more lighthearted, and you're also taking time to reassess and think about what it was that took you away from this feeling before, and just really allowing yourself to come back to yourself. And there's some tension with your partner, other people that's testing you, and perhaps that's really just testing you, and perhaps jealous and not really appreciating your light, and maybe wanting you to dim yourself down and be what you were before, that no longer serves them in the way that perhaps they're used to. And so you're having to shine your light despite that, and really develop and build your confidence, and have your little wobble in terms of walking in your wholeness, but knowing that this is the only way for you to be, because it's when you're being authentically yourself that you feel your best. And of course, Venus is in your 11th house of friends, of groups, of people, of your long-term hopes and dreams. So you are also feeling better with friends. You're going out more with friends, and that feels amazing, and surprising things are showing up through friendship, and you're not mad about it. Ooh, my computer is gonna die. And 1 second. Oh, come on, computer, don't do that. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. So Leo, essentially what I'm saying to you is you are being asked to shine your light bright, even in the space, the face of a lot of resistance and perhaps hateration that may actually hurt your feelings. But there's a bigger light here. And so you're having to assess, what you're spending your money on. Is this actually worth it as it relates to going out more with your friends and hanging out? And or is this truly aligned with, you know, where you're at in terms of resources and what you actually want to do, even though you're having such a good time, right? As well, the second house is connected to your possessions. Are you giving away more of your possessions, or are you really working really hard to align with different income earning activities, and or are you severing income earning activities that just no longer align with who you're becoming and who you want to be? That's what I have for you, Leo. Sending you much love and good luck. Virgo, so you're having this new moon in your 12th house of where you go to be alone. So this is your house of your psychology, your psyche, what lives in your mind that can also undo you. This is sometimes considered the house of hidden enemies and also a faraway shores from the ones that you were born at, from the one that you were born at, or when you were born. Why am I saying that? I don't even know, but let's keep going. So Virgo, you're having this new beginning in the 12th house space, which suggests that you're probably taking some steps towards having better mental health. Maybe you've got a new therapist that you really that you really jive with. Maybe you're starting a new program with your therapist, perhaps like cognitive behavioral therapy, to unpack ideas, beliefs that no longer serve you, that live in your psyche, and to replace them with ones that are more aligned with who you're becoming. And of course, you're having some greater grace in the 10th house space because Venus is moving through that space. However, Mercury is retrograde also in that 12th house. So you need time to really fix and feel better because right now you're just not working. And Mars is also in your sign, swearing Venus in that 10th house space. And so you're not feeling your best. Perhaps you're trying to establish boundaries in terms of work, also in terms of partnership, also in terms of home. And so you are necessarily not, again, feeling your best. And so the work you're doing, the reassessment, the revisiting, being alone, and also how that's helping you in this new moon to sow new seeds is supporting you to know what boundaries are actually important for you to establish versus what are just projections of bad habits that, again, contribute to your undoing. And so there's also a lot of tension in terms of day-to-day life, work, your routines, your health, also your ability to show up and steward the care for small animals is bringing a lot of tension. People are showing up with like mess, expecting you to like fix it, clean it up, right? And it's not working. In fact, it's probably stressing you out. It's probably like creating more oppression, just more challenges than the sixth house even needs, given the sixth house is a house already of crisis. And so it's challenging your mental health. So you having this new beginning is really you claiming space for yourself and your ability to take care of yourself. So that way you can actually show up, in that sixth house space to, persevere, to be more empowered as you show up in day-to-day life. And of course, this is also supporting you in terms of that 12th house space to really show up in your light, feed yourself, pour into your light. What do you need? How do you need to shine your light bright? That's what I have for you, Virgo. Sending you so much love and good luck. So this new moon is happening in your 11th house of your friends, of your groups and social networks, in addition to your longer term hopes and dreams. And so Libra, you are having this new beginning in a house that's a house of good luck and good fortune. So kudos to you. Also, Mercury's going retrograde in that same space. So you're also having people from the past come back to you, perhaps reconnecting with friends from the past or groups of your social networks, or revisiting a longer term hope and dream. And it's very much at odds with your need to create on your own terms, probably be yourself unapologetically, particularly as it relates to just innovative, sometimes, chaotic creativity, as again, Uranus rules that fifth house space. Uranus is now in that ninth house with your chart ruler Venus. And so you're expanding, thinking so much differently than perhaps years of the past. And you're feeling inspired to do things outside of the box. And of course, Venus is also helping you stretch to expand your horizons, have more good luck and fortune when it comes to legal matters, it comes to publishing, it comes to teaching and speaking, and just basically being connected to your Dharma in a deeper sense of purpose and why you exist in the world, and perhaps helping you to reestablish your faith. And so the tension in your creativity, also perhaps with your children, also with your lovers, is really testing you in terms of whether you can actually commit to this new beginning in that 11th house space with groups of people, different networks, as well as your friends, and towards your longer term hopes and dreams. That's what I have for you, Libra. Sending you so much love and good luck. Oh, one more thing, Libra. So sorry. You have Mars also squaring off with your chart ruler Venus in that 12th house. So that can look like you having to excavate and cut out unhelpful, undoing behaviors in that 12th house space, things that may not be in your conscious awareness that you're having to become aware of, perhaps through irritations, you know, a focus on perfection that again is very much, having to be moved out the way so you can really step into and listen to this calling towards deeper faith and a sense of goodness in life, right? And so kind of seeing where you perhaps have been blocking yourself rather than like others and or life itself. That's what I have for you, Libra. Sending you so much love and good luck. Scorpio, you're having this new moon take place in your 10th house of your career, your social status. This can look like you starting a new job. Also, Mercury retrograde means that maybe a job offer or promotion came back from the past that you're starting at the time of this new moon. And so retrogrades are not always bad. People think that, oh my God, you should never do anything in retrograde, even though like their forewarnings are important because it can go either way, right? I've literally taken jobs during retrogrades that were like dream jobs. And then I've taken jobs that were like literally con artist nightmares. So it's important to kind of understand what is the archetype, what are the aspects, and where is it showing up in your particular chart. And I feel like in your chart, Scorpio, this is more of a beneficial aspect in transit than not. And so in your 10th house, in the sign of Leo, that very much is a sign of magnetizing attention, appreciation, wealth at its core, which is the heart, which is love, in that 10th house space of public visibility. And so again, as I mentioned, new job, new start, and something from the past and connect to something from the past. Of course, it's at odds with your home, your family, huge transformations happening in that 4th house space. And so you're having to really figure out how to address that resistance, but you are both co-ruled by Mars and Pluto. And so Mars in your 11th house of your friends, your groups, and social networks, also professional networks, in addition to your longer term hopes and dreams. You're taking a lot of action there. You're really focused there, cutting out what no longer serves you and not just doing it with fluff, but with precision, a lot of planning and for the long term as Mars is conjuncting the South Node to release something that does not serve, again, your position in groups and friendships and also towards your longer term hopes and dreams. As well, Venus is in your 8th house with Uranus. So there's been some shakeups in terms of what resources you receive from others that you don't earn. And also perhaps now you're seeing some sweetness in terms of perhaps receiving some unexpected resources, particularly from women that is really loving, you're really loving, and also is very much supported by the deep shift and transformations that are happening in your home and your living space and connected to your ancestry, particularly your mother. However, as mentioned before, this still is opposing whatever commitments you have in that 4th house space is making it really difficult for you to step into this new role in your career and take up this new opportunity that you really will benefit from. That's what I have for you, Scorpio. Sending you much love and good luck. Sagittarius, you're having this new moon start in your 9th house of your higher mind, of book publishing, of higher learning institutions, education organizations, also of the law, both the legal, man-made law, and of course, spiritual law. This is also the house of Dharma. It is a house also of potentially third marriages, in addition to foreign travel, you taking a trip abroad, connecting with foreigners, people who were born in a different place of the world than you were. This is also the house of your dharma. So how you create meaning in the world and particularly the meaning as to why you exist. And so this is a new beginning that's supported by a retrograde in that area, really reassessing, perhaps meeting up or reconnecting with people from the past that you've met in your travels, or reconnecting with someone who's a foreigner, but perhaps someone that's really close to you and has brought you wisdom in terms of your dharma and your purpose. And so you're doing a lot of reassessment here that's really helping you to make sense of what's changing in your career space as you have Mars moving through that space, is cutting away roles and responsibilities that just no longer align with who you are and who you're becoming and who the universe is calling you to be in terms of that career space, and in favor of, again, expanding your home, expanding your connection to ancestry, and expanding your responsibilities to your parents and also potentially to just the people you live with. And so this is a lot of the focus at some extent, where you're also having Mars square off with Venus now in your seventh house. So this looks like perhaps meeting someone new if you're not already attached, but also seemingly radically that could feel disruptive, and also trying to make plans for the long term with this person, as Uranus is like creating this instability where you're not quite sure, but it's so electric that you just want to dive in. And also there's opportunities there for sweetness and to perhaps even travel together, but that is being pivoted and stalled because of the work and the shift that are happening in that career space, connected to also maybe your reputation, your social standing. It can even look like perhaps changing your relationship status and having to do so in ways that don't quite allow for the new beginning that you want to have, connected to the seventh house space that's taking place in that ninth house space. However, what the changes, the reassessments happening in the ninth house space are helping you get more clear on what is going, even if what's going is not necessarily what you wanted to go. What else can I say for Sagittarius? Jupiter is your chart ruler. It is in the sign of Cancer. It is behind this new moon. So it's there supporting you in terms of ensuring that who you're deeply merged with, you're able to receive more support than not, and also support that allows you to feel like greater belonging and safety. So while you undergo these really deep changes connected to your career, Jupiter's, in the background saying, we got you. So happy Sagittarius, sending you so much love and good luck. Capricorn, you're having this new moon start in your eighth house of your mutual shared resources. So again, the money that you receive from others, whether it's from an individual partner, a business partner, clients, or even entities and systems. Again, think investments. Also think old age security pensions, things of that nature. And so Capricorn, this new beginning is also paired with Mercury in Leo, even though it's not really close in terms of degree. Mercury's also moved to the sign of Leo in that eighth house space, really kind of reassessing like money that perhaps is owed to you that hasn't been paid out yet, and or any kind of estate matters or any kind of applications to allow you to receive resources without having to like work or earn them. And so there might be something returning from the past that at first you were rejected from, that now is opening up for you to actually receive. And so you'll be able to really do that work. However, it's at odds with perhaps the money that you earn, your income, as well as, your resources, what you own, what belongs to you. Perhaps also how you value yourself, because it's under so much transformation and change in terms of who you're connected with, being pivotal to you in terms of understanding your sense of self-worth is no longer going to go. And so deep transformation for you to really elevate this part of your chart that really comes through. I'm so sorry, because Pluto does everything in really intense ways. It's black or it's white. There's no in between with Pluto. And so that is making it hard to access the resources that you are really vying for during this new start. And also Mercury's retrograde through that eighth house space. Venus is in your sixth house of day-to-day work, routine, health matters. This is also where you are stewarding small animals and taking care of them. And so Capricorn, Uranus is also now in that part of your chart as well. This new moon with Mercury retrograde, it's really activating the mercurial ruled parts of your chart. And of course, Venus in that sixth house spaces make a day-to-day life more sweet, even though maybe more surprises that throw you off your game, but usually the interactions are palatable and harmonious. However, Venus is squaring Mars in the sign of Virgo in that ninth house space. And so you are having to really get more serious about releasing beliefs and ideas that don't serve you, also releasing connections to foreigners and or to foreign places that have outserved their purpose in your life and are no longer welcome. And so you're doing a lot of work in terms of figuring out like where you are truly connected to when you are away from your home, as well as your purpose. And so perhaps ways of being, ways of understanding your dharma are just not cutting it. Again, belief systems are just being severed with clear precision that is at odds with your day-to-day life and how you're showing up and or how you're not showing up and how others are showing up to expect you to address challenges or issues, in their life and or do planning for them that is just not jiving, right? It's not having the outcome that you need to have in terms of how you understand yourself and or how you are shifting your sense of purpose in life and how you understand yourself and how you understand your connection and purpose as it relates to everyone else, hence all of us. Again, the new moon is posed by Pluto, and so this will inform your dynamics with others, not just in a direct way in terms of how you are changing, reorganizing your resources, and also, but also how you are supporting yourself to surrender, let go, and let God, particularly with so much precarious energy, particularly for you in this place of like, I don't know what I am anymore, or these beliefs are not serving me, and having to literally wield out and cut away, initiate action towards, getting the paperwork you need, and or doing the paperwork to sever your connection to an entire country, right? And so that's what I have for you, Capricorn. Sending you so much love and good luck. Aquarius. So this new moon is happening for you in your seventh house of one-to-one partnerships, your business partnerships. This could be your romantic partner. This could also be your open enemies, also contracts, your marketplace, your audience, and of course, just experiences where you are looking for yourself through the other. And the other could be literally a tarot deck, like, oh, I just pulled the Eight of Swords. That could also be for you. I hope it's not, but if it is, it just means that you are having to see where you have more power than you think, and having to really move your way out of Eight of Swords energy. So like beliefs, thought patterns that just undo you. I believe Eight of Swords energy is Jupiter and Gemini. So too many thoughts. And it's really interesting because right now you have Venus and Uranus that have just moved into your fifth house of creativity, of your children, also of your creative projects, your ability to express yourself authentically. And of course, with a mercurial energy in the fifth house space, this could look like talking about everything under the moon, thinking incessantly about it, and needing to express all these incessant thoughts for better or worse. But with Venus there, you're more likely to have some sweetness, perhaps like connecting with like women, or just having harmonious relationships around exploring a multiplicity of thoughts and expressing them to anyone who will listen. And Uranus there, it's shaking it up. So like this can show up anytime. It's also a transit that like you get pregnant like that, whether, whatever gender you identify, you can get pregnant like that, right? And not just with one baby, but two in multiplicities, because again, a Gemini is all about multiplicities of difference. And of course, there's a square aspect between Mars now in your eighth house of your shared resources with other people, the money that you receive, not because you work for it, but it's because you're connected, you're deeply merged. And so there's some type of energetic contract that allows you to receive resources, whether emotional or financial, usually both, from other people, that is also being severed and cut away, and also at odds with you being able to express yourself, have fun, and just be authentically yourself, unapologetically, with all of the business, all the things you want to say, all the things you haven't said, of course, because perhaps sometimes you've held your tongue for many different reasons, but not anymore. And of course, Venus square Mars in these mutable energies is being very much informed by the work that's happening, as Mercury, both ruler of Virgo and Gemini, is retrograde in that seventh house space where you're making this new beginning. So you're constantly having to reassess like who's letting you be you, and what is worth it to receive and what's not. What gets in the way of you being true to yourself, because it's all about you being you. And Pluto in your first house is saying hell to no to anything that goes against you being you. However, this could also look like you having a lot of anxiety, and that anxiety being a lot of intensity as it relates to, taking the step in this formal committed partnership and taking that next distance, as you're having a lot of like pleasure, having a lot of fun, lots in terms of romance, and really having deep joy stirred, perhaps with a romantic lover that, you would like to extend and continue and make a firm partnership. And so you could be signing on the dotted line under this new moon. That's what I have for you, Aquarius. Sending much love. Last but not least, Pisces. So you're having this new moon show up in your sixth house of day-to-day work, your health, your stewardship and care of small animals. This is also the house of crisis. Chop wood, carry water house. And so for you, chopping wood and carrying water must be deeply aligned with your heart and how you shine your light. Okay. And so there's a chance where you can move towards egocentricity in terms of your work. And so for you, it's really careful. You have to be really careful to come back to your heart, to be deeply soul centered in terms of what is truly authentically aligned with service in your life. Service is really important to you as well. You're having Venus transit your fourth house of home and family. And so there's some sweetness there around your parents, perhaps you being a parent, especially with Jupiter in that fifth house, expanding your pleasure and your joy with your children and your creativity, and also just, whatever allows you to feel deeply aligned and true to your sense of belonging in the world, your sense of feeling cared and nurtured for, that is being expanded because Jupiter is your chart ruler. And so what is taking place and showing up as sweetness and also huge shocks and surprises in your fourth house space, maybe like a sudden opportunity to sell your house, a sudden opportunity to move, a sudden opportunity to possess a home, a sudden opportunity to reconnect with family that you've been disconnected from, who are deeply connected to your ancestral roots, that like just stirs your heart and opens you up to greater ideas and information about who you are, is like being activated with Mercury going retrograde in that sixth house space. So like things showing up out of the blue, it's like, what? And therefore a new start in what day-to-day life looks like, particularly if you're moving as well, right? Also, Pisces, you're having Mars in that seventh house of partnerships, one-to-one partners, of contracts, your audience, also open enemies, be activated with this new moon, precisely because, there's a lot happening for you where your identity is expanding, how you know yourself to be and who the world is calling you to be. And this may come at the expense of partnerships, and partners right now may be picking at you, criticizing you, nagging you, seeing you as not enough. And that's also showing up in your living environment with your partner. And so it may be also affecting your home. It may be affecting your ability to formalize an agreement to, again, take possession of a home or get rid of a home, and or just like take action or support the sweetness that's already happening in your home space. Because again, partners are just being really testy. However, Pisces, it's really important for you to figure out how to harmonize this space by digging into your heart, right? Digging into your heart helps you to understand or support you in grasping you perspective of your partner, to really be clear on what leaves and what is severed from that seventh house space, whether it's the entire partnership, aspect of the partnership that must change to make greater space for both you and this expansion, and a partnership that reflects and aligns with these changes. As well, this can look like you utilizing, again, that sweetness, your ability to resource words and ideation to create portals for yourself, to step into different states of being, particularly in your inner landscape, your inner world, to be okay, even while other people, particularly those one-to-one partners, are like on one. Okay. And so this again takes you back to showing up in your light day to day. So you're shining your light bright as your medicine to the hateration, because really with Pluto in that 12th house space, it's bringing up so much in your psyche that can really test you and test your mental health. Right. And so the enemy can feel like literally your mind and what's in your psyche that undoes you, particularly with this deep transformation happening in that 12th house space. Again, that also may correspond with your partner now, or one-to-one dynamics like chipping away at you. And so you're just being asked at this new moon to resource your heart and have this new beginning in terms of how do you support your health, how do you support yourself day to day with all these changes around you, and also focus on what serves you rather than what doesn't. This is what I have for you, Pisces. Sending you so much love and good luck. Wishing everybody an amazing new moon. It's going to be a really intense one, but like I say, the more intense things are, the more it amplifies our ability to have our desires and also create the containers to realize them. Before you go,